It's time for Chai and Chat. Chai and Chat.
Hey Sundari, how you doing?
Hi, Ranjit. Hi, nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. Nobody else can see us because we're not doing video podcasts.
Oh, oh dear, they found out our secret. Never
But
mind.
one day we will. By the way, you're always looking very glamorous, and I haven't had a shave today, so I'm hoping the video platform evens me out and makes me look fantastic.
Oh, it's funny because a few last year I would have been blonde. You'd have seen the blonde me because I thought,
Really?
blondes are more fun, and I've gone back to being darker again. So,
Oh,
the thing about being an Asian blonde in a South Asian blonde. But after a while, when it starts to fade, it's not a good look, Ranjit.
Oh.
So
well, it
gone
looks
back to
like,
being darker.
yeah, your colour's nice. I can see there's little bits of colour in there as well. I can see.
Yes,
So,
there are fading ones.
well, I'm colourblind, so it's worked on me. That's the good
Well,
thing.
it must be exciting in your world to see my hair then. I wish I could see it through your eyes.
So this week we thought we'd talk about work-life balance because actually our lives are very different in terms of work at the moment, and we thought we could talk about how we get that work-life balance, which we both have now. And there were various times in our lives that we probably didn't have it or how we managed it. This came about because we were talking about you being a poet, and I don't read much poetry, but there are two poems on my wall. This poem has been on my wall for like 20 years, and I wanted to memorize it. And I love this poem, and I can't get past the first two lines. So that's the poem we're going to start with because I think it encapsulates everything for me. It's still been an issue for the past 20 years, and I think it's a lovely poem that I think a lot of people will resonate with. So you've got the beautiful poetry reading voice.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Randy. Before I say the poem, I'm just going to build it up a little bit more.
Okay.
It was one of my favorite poems growing up because I learnt it at school. I had a very good memory at school, so I could recite it. Just the words, just beautiful words. I think it's one of this country's favorite poems, much loved poem. So it's by a man called W.H. Davies. He was a chap who lived a life of adventure. Apparently, he lost a leg whilst trying to jump a train in pursuit of adventure.
Wow.
But I think it's a poem that's not pretentious. It's not patronizing. It's just lovely. It's called Leisure. What is this life full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows. No time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. No time to see, in broad daylight, streams full of stars like skies at night. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet, how they can dance. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this is, full of care. We have no time to stand and stare.
So as you were reading that, I was looking up and staring at my poem on the wall and just thinking about the thoughts that it brings back.
The thoughts. Do you know what's so interesting? This poem was written in 1911. And the poet, I think, is trying to tell us that he warns us of this hectic pace of modern life in 1911 that is detrimental to the human spirit. We need to be more in nature. And that was 1911. Wow. And we think of the time now, and it's the same. And it's interesting that they thought that in 1911. And we think about 1911 thinking, oh my goodness, life, everything must have been full of woodland and forests, and people were, obviously very leisurely, and it wasn't. So
I'm just reaching past the camera because you've just said something that is really weird. It's giving me the chills, like 1911. Now, I didn't know that poem was written in 1911. And as I say, it's been on a pinboard. It's only like it was printed and just stuck on a pinboard. So, it's not in a frame or anything. And next to it, I have a old 1 penny coin. You probably can't see it, but this 1 penny coin is 1911. And the reason why I keep it there is because my lucky number is 11 and 22. So,
my goodness.
So that is so weird. I'm very into numbers and things. An episode for another day.
My goodness. Well, I don't know what to say,
I'm just going to put
because
it
we
back
didn't
to
share
you.
any of this beforehand. So it's
Yeah.
but you've mentioned this poem to me before,
Mm,
and it's funny that we both love it. But as I said, it's a very much loved poem
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
So what
And
does
I
it
think
evoke to you? The sort of imagery of the words there.
so. I think for me, it's about, we talk about this work-life balance. I mean, this poem comes to
Mm,
mind when I was working, in public health and then worked in
mm,
university and developing my university career and quickly moved from teaching to management and then suddenly got
mm,
into a very busy job. And I think I stopped and caught myself and thought, how did I get here? How did I get to this point where everything became very busy and I was getting paid very well, which was great because then I could
mm,
spend it on very fancy holidays. But when we went on holiday, the first 2 days, we would just sleep. We were so exhausted. So,
mm,
and and then, when I was coming back home the last 2 days of the holiday, I'd be gearing myself up mentally to get back into that pace of life. And
mm,
that sort of stopping starting was quite intense. And so for me, this poem is that thing of, having that time to stop and stare. And
mm.
and how do we do that? And thinking back to simpler times or maybe having those simpler times. But I think, does everyone feel this way? I mean, how about you? What
I was just thinking of a few things really. I think growing up in Malaysia, very much I think in Southeast Asian, East Asian, South Asian cultures, I don't think there is such a thing as work-life balance. It's basically work and family. That's what it
mm,
is. And nobody thought of this balance, and it's a very westernized
yeah,
phrase, I think. Uh, we never went on holidays. When it was holiday time at, school holidays, we just spent it at home. I think I've mentioned this before, playing with
mm,
cousins. We might have gone to the beach for one day.
yeah,
That was it. And my parents never talked about work-life balance. It was just family. You needed to work for the betterment of the family.
yeah,
And I mean, this poem struck a chord with me because when I was young, because I was a bit of a dreamer. I just loved
yeah,
the words. I loved the streams full of stars like skies at night. I just love that phrase.
mm,
The idea that, that it's just gorgeous, really.
mm,
And just some of the lines really where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. In Malaysia, I don't think we have any squirrels. So I was, intrigued with squirrels.
yeah,
But it's just the way the poem read and that whole life, the idea that your life is poor if it's full of care. I never
yeah,
thought of it as care because we didn't have that, it wasn't thought about as care, it was work and family.
yeah,
So I suppose I've grown up with that, and the idea of work-life balance didn't hit me. I didn't think of it that way, but I always knew I didn't want to work full time, probably.
I
I
didn't
just
want
would
to work at
rather
all.
read. Yeah, not work at all. I mean, I just like the idea of doing lots of different
Yeah,
things. Obviously, when the children came along, unlike my
mm,
childhood when, we had extended family, grandmother brought us up because mummy worked
mm,
away, we didn't have the same setup here.
yeah,
So between Simon and I, we arranged it such that I would be at home a bit more to bring up the children. So
yeah,
I suppose that was looking after the children, doing some work, and within the work, I wanted to do some teaching because I thought of it as having variety. I was
mm,
probably one of the original portfolio
yeah,
GPs without even thinking that it existed as a word, portfolio.
yeah,
And that is one thing that I think has given me longevity
yeah,
because not knowing the phrase, but knowing what deep inside me mattered. So it was more about what I wanted to do as opposed to what I didn't want to do. I
yeah, yeah,
wanted a variety, and that gave some balance. And that's the one thing I do tell my students and younger doctors I've mentored: pursue what it is that you want. Just don't think of it as a negative, and don't
yeah.
pursue everything just for the money. Make it about enriching your life. And I do think that's why I feel very fulfilled. I'm very lucky. I feel lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
Mm,
think I resonate with all of that. I think for me, it's about stopping and just watching life just happen around you,
mm,
and things just progressing, squirrels hiding nuts in grass, the watching the cows
mm,
beneath the trees. And, and I think that thing of just things happening and not having to do anything and not feeling the need to do anything. As you were talking, I interrupted and said, oh, yes, I didn't want to work. And I think one
mm,
thing I've reframed in my life is when I think about my career and I think
mm,
about the jobs I had, it doesn't feel like work. It feels enjoyable. It doesn't feel like I'm working. It doesn't feel like, both my parents worked in factories and For them, it was work. It was physical, hard work. For me, I was going to an office, I was sitting down, I was chatting to people, I was having conversations. For me, it was just enjoyable. Okay, there was some stressful times. You've got to meet deadlines, you've got to provide reports, you've got difficult meetings with people, but that wasn't too tricky. For me, it was a lot of it was fun and enjoyable and meeting interesting people and doing things and helping communities and all those things for me it was a privilege. It wasn't work. It was just doing things.
It's interesting what you're saying as well, because in lots of South Asian and East Asian cultures, even when people retire, they still want to carry on doing some form of work, because that thing about we must work, but also because work is enjoyable. It's meeting other people. They're just able to feel they belong to society still, because I sometimes think, when you've stepped away from all that, South Asians are not very good at hobbies. I think work was your hobby. The idea of reading or painting or gardening wasn't culturally sort of things that we did. We've probably learned different ways now, or building up those hobbies when you were younger. So that idea, I still teach and go into surgery and things like that because I enjoy it. I enjoy that, but without that full responsibility. And now, because my children have left home as well, that idea, when I think we were chatting one of the days, because I was saying, oh, it was lovely and hot the other day. And I was just sat outside having my cup of tea and lying in the sun, just thinking about nothing, just looking at flowers. And I feel very privileged and doing nothing. I'm able to do nothing for a very long time.
Yeah.
My mind is buzzing with things, but I've got a little bit of bossa nova playing in the background, a little bit of jazz, having my cup of tea, jumping on something, a few nuts, and it's great not having having a holiday when not on holiday. And I was just asking you, but do you relax at all, Ranjit?
Well, I know when we talked about this, when we talked about this, it made me think about actually hearing you say it is relaxing. Hearing you talk about you relaxing is relaxing for me, because when I sit there and do exactly that, I would be sitting there thinking, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, but I wouldn't do it because I have this action inertia. So I sit there and think, well, I must do this and I must do that. And then I'm constantly thinking of things, and I'm constantly thinking of ideas. And what I tend to do is I write ideas down in a notes app and think, well, that's a good idea. A hobby for me becomes a full-blown business. I was talking to a friend yesterday about something, and I was like, oh, this is such a good idea. That could be great. Everyone could use this. I think about ideas. I think creatively. I think about how it can assist people, what I can do with it. But yeah, that to me, it's exhausting emotionally. I think it's exhausting because sometimes I just wish I could switch off. I think even when I'm watching a play or a film, because as I mentioned before, I write for stage and screen as well. So I'm a writer currently working on a play with Rifco Theatre Company that hopefully will grow and become something else.
That wasn't a plug, Ranjit. I don't know what was. I think we all heard it.
The reason why I'm mentioning it is I'm mentioning it because I'm holding myself to it as well, so that if I mention it now, I know if I look back on this in a year and I don't.
All I can say, Ranjit, is there's no time to relax now. You've got that on your mind. I'll be on your case, checking on you.
I might cut it out when we come to edit the show, but no, I'm joking, I'll keep it in. But for me, the thing around when I watch plays and films, I have to stop myself and think, don't analyze everything. Why is that person on stage? Why is that prop there? And I have to say to myself, just let it wash over you, just enjoy it for what it is. And we were talking about holidays, and I think this came up about, sitting on a beach, and that to me is a nightmare. I want to be walking around, a place of historical interest, or just walking along the beach. I don't want to be sitting there. But
I don't know whether we can go on holiday together unless you're walking around getting me, snacks.
Yeah. I was going to say you can look after the bags. I'll walk around and
I'll look after the bags and the towels, and you can walk around bringing things to me. There's a little bit of me, that idea of your head buzzing. Sometimes I just like to lie in bed in the morning. I'll get a cup of tea, have something, and I go back and lie in. I know if I come downstairs, I'll see all the jobs I need to do. Whereas if I'm lying in bed, I don't see them. So if I don't see them, I don't need to do them. And then I come downstairs at about 1 or 2 or whatever. I don't do this every day, but and then there is a period of 2 hours where I do all the jobs, because I'm one of those people who do everything very quickly. It's done then. So it's a little kind of competition. How long can I stay in bed?
No, that's where we.
How long can I get it done?
that's where we're very similar. So maybe it's how I'm thinking about this because I'm the same. As I say, it's action inertia for me. I sit there and
Yeah.
think, oh, don't want to do this, but I'll just watch a TV show. I'll just procrastinate things. So I do probably relax, but I relax by watching Netflix series. I've said this before, I can watch things and forget them because I'm thinking at the same time as
But
I'm
I
watching
do think
something.
maybe
Yeah.
you should watch these things and just not have guilt about it. I think
Maybe that's
guilt is
it.
probably something that I don't have a lot of guilt about anything. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I should be doing something else. I think, oh, look at me, I'm watching TV when I should be. So
And I don't feel judged by anybody. So, so I don't have that guilt. So
I judge myself, it's not anybody else.
I didn't realize the word hedonist till I came to England. And then Simon
Okay.
says, oh, you're a bit of a hedonist, aren't you? I'm going,
Yeah.
well, why not? If it fits, then it's relaxing. And I don't have a lot of guilt about some things. But suddenly, if I think I need to do something, I'm jumping at it, and then it's done at about 100 miles an hour. And I'm not one of those who always does something to 100%. 70, 80% is good enough for me, darling.
70, 80. Wow. Okay, see, I'm
Yeah.
learning things again. I'm going to adopt that.
Doesn't need to be 100%. Yeah. I think it struck me. I think before I had children, I think I did everything, to 50% or even less and thought it was 100%. And then I had children and I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, I have to do this to 100%.
Right.
And then now that they've grown up, I haven't gone back to 50, but I've
Okay.
maintained an average.
I think one of the things we're talking about work as well, about how, because we talk about this work-life balance, and I said that, I don't see it as work. I see it as, we call it work, but I see it as enjoyable. And I also remember another phrase I heard. It's like when people say, oh, I have to go to this meeting. I reframed it in my head. I get to go to this meeting. I get to go and teach students. I get to do these things. And it's true. I'm lucky. We both said this. We're very blessed, in terms of what we are able to do. So we're lucky we do things that are fun and enjoyable. And we get that feedback from students and, in your case, patients.
I know.
Well.
I think I'm very lucky in that sort of sense because even though there's some of the days when I have to go and think, oh, I have to wake up now in the traffic, and I think, don't be so silly. And then when I'm there, I love it. I love the enthusiasm and feeling lucky, that one gets to go to work and do a thing that one loves. And the only time it interferes is when you're going on holiday. You think, I have a very lovely friend who then fills in for me. But that's the only thing for me to work that out. How hard is that, Ranjit? I do feel lucky. I do feel that word balance. I don't know, it's a phrase I wasn't familiar with. I still don't use it, but it's a phrase that's used a lot, isn't it?
And I think for me, that thing about balance, as I approached 50, I don't mind to, I'm just past 50. So for me, I had this epiphany that a lot of people I knew who were older than me were saying things like, oh, you don't want to spend all your time working and doing all these things. And I realized I was spending time at work and doing things in an environment not with my friends or family. So I made a conscious decision of stepping back a little bit. I was managing a department, was very busy, managing academics, which people say is like herding cats, which was exactly that. You can't tell academics what to do. Now I've got to understanding of the things I enjoy.
Yes, I think that's a better phrase. As we said, if you do the things you enjoy, then you never have to think of the word balance, and you're still working, but you're enjoying, and you've phrased it differently, framed it differently.
Yeah. And I think I get pulled into things where as part of your career development, people say, oh, you're great at this. Will you do this? And I don't want to displease people. So I'll go, okay, I'll go for that role, get another role. And then before you know it, you think, hold on, I really love just teaching students. That's what I really wanted to do. How did I get into this other position?
I think I did, being the clinical lead and or very, very responsible roles. And at the time, some of it was very tough, but I was rewarded financially for it. Now, looking back, it gave me so many things to add to my portfolio because I did that. Transferable skills that I could use. So it's only retrospectively I could see that. But if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have been able to get some other roles. But because I'd done that, and also when I'd left it, I reframed it and I was also more relaxed. So all these things can build up to a nice little portfolio. I had a wonderful professor who said, don't think too much about a career. Just do the things you love. And then some of the things that are responsibilities. And when you look back on it, sort of come together very nicely for you. And I've always tried to keep that in mind a little bit. I thought it was quite clever what he said. Yeah.
And that's interesting because I've done exactly the same thing. I've always done things I enjoy. So I'll go off on tangents. I started off doing a Russian degree, fell into public health work, and then started, working in academia. And in academia, you can do those fun things. You can just do anything that takes your interest. And public health is great because I always say public health draws on so many disciplines that, public health professionals can do the communication side, they can do the evidence management, data, all that sort of working with communities. You don't have to work with communities, you can work with, data sets. It's all very exciting, but interesting you mentioned about having that opportunity to do all those things and that professor telling you these things, because I'll share an example of something that happened to me, which just made me realize. I look at my CV and my CV looks very full. There's lots of things I've done. And I look at it and I think, really, is that me?
Did you do it? Did I do all that?
Did I do all of that?
No.
And I went for an interview at a local university and I didn't get the job. I'll say that straight away. But when I went for the interview, there was about 7 people. So it was quite a senior role. The chair welcomed me into the room. And it was a very tight room. I remember this. So I had to present something first, as you do at interviews. As soon as I finished my presentation, this one person on the panel said, "Can I just start?" And the chair looked at them thinking, hold on, we have how they do, they have questions.
It's a protocol, yes.
Yeah, it's a set questions. So I didn't say anything. I don't think I said anything. And the person said, "Ranjit, you're brilliant, aren't you?"
How lovely to hear that.
It sounds nice, but the tone
I see.
sarcastic. And I said,
I'm sorry, I missed that completely.
So I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. And he said, but you're brilliant, aren't you? There's nothing you haven't done.
Right.
And I didn't know what to say. So I said, is there something I can help you with in terms of my experience? Is there something you want to get more information on? And he said, but you've done all these things. He said, you've done this, you've done that, developed all these partnerships and everything else. Really? That was the first question.
Oh my goodness. That's taken a turn I didn't expect. I'm so sorry, that's horrid.
I said, I have. And I said, I can give examples if you'd like me to go through, if there's anything I can help you with. And he went, no, that's okay. And that was the first
now we know why he didn't get that job. He or she would have they would have gone, no.
So he was the first person. I think he was the person I'd have to work with. So I sat in this interview and I'm glad that happened straight away, because as the other questions came out and I was answering them really well, I thought to myself, I don't want this job anyway, because I don't want to work with people like you. And I thought it's interesting because I think I've been lucky in the jobs I have had that I've been able to develop those experiences. And because I said to you, I like to do different things, and if something interests me, I'll do it. It reminded me that actually the next job I go for, I only talk about what's relevant. Don't put all your clothes on. Don't put your summer clothes, your winter clothes, all your clothes.
I like that. Yeah. This has nothing to do with work-life balance, but you're talking about interviews. I'll do a quickie one as well. Obviously, I worked in the same surgery for a very long time. So I never had to write a CV.
Right.
And that was the one thing when I wrote, because there was a job that came up at a university and I thought, I can do that job, something different. So the great thing was writing the CV. It showed me I had all these transferable skills, and I read it back and I went, is that you, darling? It's not bad, is it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I applied for the job. You had to do this presentation on how you would see the systems going, build a little model about how you would do it.
Yeah.
I was shortlisted. I went to it. It was an academic institution. Of course, as soon as I wore my best suit, my little Ralphie, I looked very nice. I turned up. I went in straight away. My presentation didn't work.
Oh, no.
Then it worked. And I presented. As I was presenting, I was looking at all the people in front of me. One of the people on the panel I sort of knew. And I thought, oh, you all look so fuddy-duddy. Anyway, I finished my presentation. I said, any questions? And they asked me a few questions. And then they asked me, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I was looking at them going, how old do you think I am? 10 years? I wanted to say doing nothing. I went, I don't know, running this department, I suppose. I was so offhand. And I was leaving. They went, oh, can we have a copy of your model? And I went, no.
Oh.
Because you're going to steal all my ideas. And then I was leaving. I went, oh, go on, have a copy then. Obviously, it took a long time. I thought they'd have dismissed me straight away. Apparently, I just didn't make it. And so much later on, I saw the job. I saw the chap I sort of knew. And I said, what happened there? When did I get the job? And he looked at me, he laughed and he goes, did you really want it? I went, nah.
But isn't it interesting when you prepare for those interviews and you do all that work? I mean, I was really quite annoyed, even though I didn't want the job because this person.
No, Ranjit, I was the other way. I was terrified if I'd been given the job, and I had to say no. did I really want it? I just did it for a bit of fun,
I think that's the other thing for me because I realized what he was like, and then I thought, actually, this isn't what am I doing here? Why am I trying to please these people? Why am I trying to get them to like me?
I think what happens is, as you get a little bit older, you want to be in charge of your own destiny.
Yeah.
And and I suddenly thought, working for a big organization, I wouldn't be in charge of anything, in terms of I have too many people to answer to. And, I've gone back to being that younger person, the bravado. I'm just probably going to say what I like. And
you're right, though. You plan all these things, and I always leave my slides because I think I've done the work, have it.
I was like, no, you're not having it. Taking all my ideas and not giving me the job. But then I felt a bit rude. I gave it to you anyway. Sorry, you were saying I interrupted you.
But they can't deliver it the way you would deliver it. So the thing is, they can have your ideas, but how they would deliver it, they need you behind it. I always think that. So I think they've got the idea, but it's about ability to deliver. Have they got that? But the other thing that was interesting, you mentioned about where do you see yourself in 5 years? That same person asked me that question. So he said, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? I hadn't really thought about it because I don't really have a career plan. I've always just gone from one thing to another. So I said, well, I see myself just, developing this and making it really successful and
on the hoof.
Yeah. And he just looked at me and went, so you don't see yourself doing anything else? And he went, well, looking at your CV and everything else you've done, I would see you wanting to be director of the whole operation. I almost felt like saying, now you're starting to be really rude, but you can't do that in an interview. I wish I had done it. I wish I had that confidence now to just say, because at that point I was thinking, I don't really care. It was almost like throw up the tables and go, you know what, I'm out of here.
I know, but that's why when they asked me that, I was thinking, that's when I went, running the place, professor, I don't know. And I don't know.
Maybe that's what I should have said. I should have said, yeah, I want your job. So I don't ask these awkward interview questions to anyone else.
The thing that came to my head, I mean, it wasn't, I didn't think about it just straight away. Obviously, it showed that I probably didn't want it. I don't know why we've come up on this massive tangent.
I know, because I'm talking about work.
Work-life balance. Maybe that was our balance, was our inner selves.
Yeah.
Were telling us the balance is don't do this job. But the process was fun. My process was seeing what I'd achieved. Writing the CV was probably enough for me.
Yeah.
And you writing all that and seeing all that you've done was probably enough for you.
Well, I like a chai and chat, and that to me is the best thing. Gadgets and things. I'm addicted to buying gadgets. I'm terrible. Full disclosure for everyone listening, I buy a lot of stuff. So I've got to stop buying things actually. But when it comes down to it, those things don't matter. It's about people.
I do buy things, but they're mostly lipsticks and things from one's skin. And
I'm buying champagne and I buy Prosecco.
No, but I still, it gives me a little flutter if I see a nice new lippy. Oh, that would be fun. Is it matte? Is it glossy?
Oh, yes.
What shade of pink is this? Yeah, so we all have it. You've got gadgets. Mine are just lippies and other.
Oh, my nieces are like that. They buy a lot of products and things. And I think I went on holiday with them recently, and they had all these things. I was like, "Do you need that many things?" Of
course we do.
Yeah.
I don't think that's such a silly question.
And then I was like,
and then you share amongst ourselves. I share it with my daughters, and then usually my supply is depleted because they've taken quite a few things.
Well, I'm surprised at all the different things they use.
And if they turn their nose up at anything, I was going, something wrong with that. Is mummy not trendy enough?
Well, I was surprised at how much they spent at duty free at the airport. I was like, whereas I would just walk through. They were like, "Oh, I've got to get this. I've got to get this. I need this."
Did they go, Uncle Ranjit, will you get this for us?
I didn't buy them anything, but I should have done actually, because just a quick thing. I know we're about to finish soon, but we were on an airline that was delayed, and actually because we were delayed, we got lots of compensation. So I should have bought them something. I felt a bit bad afterwards. I was like, there I was thinking, I'm not.
I think if they're listening to this, they'll be like, we're getting something off you now.
No, I paid for the holiday, so I'm taking them on holiday again.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That was the deal. I said we'll take them away again.
So there's been a lot of balance there now.
And this is the thing about work-life balance. It's like, doing those fun things. Anyway, so talking about balance.
Part of this balance is you and me having this lovely chat and having the time to do that.
True. So for me, this is a balance. This is like, reframing things in my mind and then ready for the next thing. So I need to go and get another cup of tea. Don't know about you.
So I suppose I'll have another cup of tea at some point, and maybe people will reflect on what they think, what balance is, whether they think they need a balance or they've achieved it. I don't know. Maybe start a chai and chat conversation for other people.
It'd be
Okay.
lovely actually to get somebody on this show actually and talk about their balance. So I think in the future, that's
Yes, I think perhaps in the future we'll have guests in and we can quiz them about lots of the things we've talked about, and we might have to pre-warn them. We might ask them a question.
We'll check if they've listened to this episode and we can ask them about it.
You can listen to episode 6. No, I'm going to ask you about work-life balance. Okay.
We'll have to quiz them. Anyway, lovely chatting to you. I'll speak to you again soon.
Well, bye, love.
Okay, bye.
Shy and chat.